Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It is Saturday, August 10th, 2024. So I thought today we spend a little bit of time talking about how to get set up and network, with other businesses and how it kind of intertwines with helping out your customer as well, or your potential customer. Did I get you intrigued? Stick around. Alrighty, welcome back. And if you didn't already know, my name is Eric. And no, this is not the weekday. The weekday is Monday through Friday, and we do, different topics, different strokes for different folks. Some, you know, find it highly entertaining, others find it informational, but we all try to have a good time, right? So the weekend, I usually go off topic, but I got to thinking about this because I had this is going on quite a bit around me on the phone, and that is customers calling and looking for things. So let me back this up. Today we're going to talk about networking. And, you know, networking means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And I know some people, see, I belong to LinkedIn as well. And they think, it's kind of like a notch on your belt of how many girlfriends you had. They try to get as many people on their LinkedIn account, friends group, as like a status thing. But then they start massively spamming the hell out of them with emails. That's not networking, folks. Nope. True networking is knowing who the other person is, having a relationship with the other person, and sometimes not having a relationship with the other person of any kind. But through other people, you've learned to that other person or that company has instilled trust, and they have not let you down so far with your customers, right? So let's take a step back. What is networking? All right, so networking, we've talked about it before in the sense of like a small engine repair business. Now, I've seen people come to towns, set up shop, and think that the idea of how to get the best business is to undercut and outdo the other repair shop on the other side of town. How well do you think that works? My feeling is if you come in with a negative is you're trying to outdo somebody else. It usually ends up in a negative. But if you start with a positive, your chances increase. And how do they increase? Because you're just starting out, all right? You're a nobody. Nobody knows you. And the hardest thing in business is to get customers, especially if you're in the service sector, like repairing. People have to trust you enough to bring their stuff to you to work on it. And if the tempo in the shop is talking bad about the other shop, I wouldn't bring you any piece of equipment, even if the other shop sucked, because it's a negative coming into a positive. So if you always approach it with a positive to a positive, that's where you get your best results, right? It's never from a negative to a positive. Negative and a positive repel. Same idea with business. And really in anything in your life, everyday things, whether it's interacting with other people, people like to be around other people that are positive. Nobody likes a Debbie Downer, all right? That's life. And no, you can't be a positive person all the time. Been there, done that. It don't work. And you can't fake it either. Because people can look right through you. It'd be so obvious. How many of you guys out there have seen ass kissers, trying to suck up to somebody? And yet, they can't stand them. They're fake people. I don't surround myself with fake people. I surround myself with people that are not afraid to say what's on their mind. I may disagree with them, but at least I get a chance to agree to disagree with what they're saying or talking about. You want friends like that. You want coworkers like that. You want employees like that aren't afraid to speak up and say something that's on their mind. Now, there's a fine line there too, because I know of numerous people that I consider that are outspoken. No matter what the topic is, their loud mouth runs like crazy, and they're all over the place. But I know, case in point, in the past, some of the best ideas of how to streamline and run a shipping, packing business, selling parts online, you have to get the product shipped and out the door, right? And to the customer. And some of the best ideas came from employees willing to speak up and say, I think we can make it better. And I always encouraged everybody around me to speak up. If you can see a better way, a less expensive way, I don't want to cheapen, but if we can do it and it costs us less, speak up. I'm all ears. But that, in a way, is networking, right? Even with your own employees. Because you're earning respect and giving respect. And that's a lot of what networking is. Now, I've talked about this before a long time ago, but it's worth repeating. Now, you get guys that are sales reps, right? And what makes a good sales rep to a not so good sales rep? Well, the amount of sales, right? Right? Wrong. A lot of times, and this sometimes is hard for people to understand, but sales reps are given territories, okay? Some never leave their home office, while others are on the road 4 or 5 days a week. But let's take the one in the home office, all right? And this one in particular actually had an office at home, is where he worked out of. And he worked for a major aftermarket company. And we developed a rapport. And he was mediocre at best when it came to, monthly sales numbers. It wasn't because he was a bad salesman. It was because of his territory and who he had for clients, customers. But one of the things that he capitalized on is he reached out and he wanted to get to know you. And he wanted to know you on a first name basis. And over the years of dealing with that company, he became part of the family. Whether it was Krista talking with him or Claude or myself. And, we went through the deals of where his wife had cancer for a short bout and got into remission, to sending Christmas stuff back and forth. And he said, Eric, I'm supposed to send you something for all the business that you gave me and my family. And yet you're the one sending it to me. Well, because my business wouldn't be where it was if it hadn't been for him too. You get respect because it's earned. And you give respect to someone else if it's earned. You know, there's a difference between respect and trust. All right. Trust with me is I will trust you until you give me a reason not to trust you. Okay? Pure and simple. I don't take what other people have to say about you. I will, because my approach sometimes is so much different than what other people have tried to approach this person that it may work perfectly. And that relationship would be good. Where it's bad with other people because of the approach. Sometimes when you're trying to do something, the approach is the issue. It's not the people involved, it's how the approach is. So instead of just giving up, you need to figure out what's wrong with the approach and change the approach. How can I better approach someone? You don't want to catch them where they're off guard or embarrassed or, you got to lead into it, right? But I took that sales rep from a mediocre monthly average to the top salesman in the company. The top salesman in the company for that company. Was it all me? No. He worked hard too. But I can remember when I first started with him, I told him, I said, if you trust me and you work with me, we will go a long way. If you fight me, I'll just find somebody else that works well with me. And he said, fair enough. And I'll tell you his name, Norman. Norm is what we called it. He did so well that they took and put him in charge of 3 other territories outside my territory. What do you think happened? The sales numbers were not there. What did we end up with? We end up with a young lady that didn't know the right approach, and we never did mesh. See, when I first started with that company, we were allowed to get out of one warehouse, right? And as I started showing the aftermarket company numbers of what I was doing, they opened up all 5 of their warehouses, and they allowed me to drop ship from any one of those warehouses directly to the customer. And I knew what the shipping cost was going to be before I even made the sale. And we did do a lot of drop shipping, but we did a lot of ordering too from different locations throughout the United States. The only place that was limited was Canada. But the end result was, by changing that relationship, and the young girl just never meshed with any of us, okay? And she was trying to do it strictly by the book. And Norm was given a lot of leeway, okay? And we used to have a monthly account with them. And sometimes, it would reach $30,000, $40,000 a month. But like on the PTO clutches, the heavier stuff, I would just go ahead and drop ship. And the order would go through, and she would sit on it. She wouldn't let it go through, and she didn't understand how the system worked. And we ended up getting on Amazon at that time. We weren't allowed to sell for like 2 or 3 months because of late shipments. And why were they late? Because she held them up. She thought that they had to be paid for at the time, even though we had an open account. In my open account with that company, there was no credit limit up to a certain point. It was a credit limit. It was open. We all knew it. Norm knew it, but she didn't. And she didn't want to lose her job. But it got to the point where trying to communicate and trying to work with her, I finally said, enough is enough. And I quit buying from them. Again, was she a bad person? No. But she didn't have the approach. She didn't have what Norm had. And that is the ability to rise above and work as a team and respect each other and grow. And I blame that company for putting in what I classified as a newbie versus someone that had experience. And I'm hoping that Norm is doing well, but I know that his account numbers went down because he didn't have any of the big ticket online sellers helping him with his bonuses and stuff. So I'm going to start wrapping it up here because we're getting into almost 17 minutes. But the key when I'm talking about networking is, we've talked about it before. Instead of being enemies or not having an open dialogue with the other repair shops in the area, make them your friends. Work with each other. I get more business by being positive with the other businesses in my area. And I'm not afraid to. We have one of my friends that he's one hell of a tractor mechanic. But his specialty is hydraulic hoses and tires. And we don't do either, okay? But I'm on the phone with him and I'm ordering stuff, or it's like, I got a guy coming your way in 10 minutes. He needs this, 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 and this. And one hand washes the other too. It's not all one way. If it's all one way, then it's not a good relationship. If one is giving a lot and the other one is taking but not giving back, that's not what you want for an ideal relationship. And there may be some businesses in the area that you just can't have a relationship with. But you can still make it a positive by just, you can say to other customers, if they say something about that business, that, yeah, they're a good business to deal with. Because one thing in business, one thing with my employees is we never, ever talk bad about another shop or another business or another person at my location, at my business. And why is that? One, I can't tolerate it. If you got something to say to somebody or about somebody, tell it to their face. Don't let them hear it third and fourth thing, because as something gets told down the line, you know how it is. The more people involved, comes out totally different than what it was actually said. And I'm not keen on gossip. Informational, trying to catch up with other people and what's going on with other people, that's one thing. But when you learn something about somebody and then you go gossip it to somebody else, it'll catch up to you and bite you in the ass. So on that note, you guys have a great Saturday, and we'll probably have something for the Sunday sermon or something like that for tomorrow. But the reason I brought this up today was There's a company called Worthington Ag Tractor Parts, and they have 12 salvage yards throughout the U.S. And we get a lot of calls from people that are trying to do restos, and that is restorations, but they want period correct parts. They don't want aftermarkets. They don't want, they want the real deal. And even if it's like a fender that's got some dings and bends, they'll pound it out and then repaint it. And I find myself recommending this company a lot to a lot of my customers that call where I can't help them, but maybe Worthington can. And they send it directly to our customers. So on that note, you guys have a great Saturday.